Matt, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I just want to tell you, I watched the documentary twice, and it is such a fascinating story. This is before I even, had the opportunity to interview you, so I had to watch it, I guess, a third time, just in preparation of this. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. Man, thank you. You have no idea.
Uh, I'm flattered, man, to get such high praise. I mean, that's the best review by far we've had. And I'm glad you appreciate it. And more importantly, I'm glad you offering us this platform to speak further about the movie. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's just start it right here. Watching Lovely Jackson, and it's on VOD at this point. You can catch it wherever you need to catch it. It goes through your story, Ricky, and it is a fascinating one. And you know what? I'm trying to do this interview without spoilers. Sorry, I don't think I can. Because it is a public story, and yes, Ricky, I do remember reading clips about it. I don't know if you can tell from Detroit. You're in Cleveland while this happened, so we're kind of close. So a lot of the
that's true. Yeah, we kind of joined at the hip, and especially with our culture and everything,
So when something of this magnitude happens, and I'll just give the brief overview. At the time, you were 18 years old. You're in high school. You're just having a summer. There was a murder at the your local well, I won't call it check cashing place. It was liquor store slash check cashing slash money orders, and you were fingered for that crime that you weren't even there for. You didn't even do it.
Exactly.
And you did 39 years in prison and maintained your innocence, maintained your will just to survive, not giving in, not taking plea deals, not essentially changing to adapt to your ever-changing situation. My first question is this, and I'm going to get back to you, Ricky, but my first question is from Matt. Matt, you have done some producing work, and this is your first time out as a director. When you hear a fascinating story like this, and I say this jokingly a little bit, but how easy was it directing this? Because the story tells itself.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was easy. I mean, obviously, it was an easy choice to try and platform Ricky's story. That was an easy choice, I would say. But because Ricky is the person who he is, and because he is so unique, and his story is so unique, and at the time of his release, he was the longest ever wrongfully incarcerated person in U.S. history. He and I talked for a long time, and we wanted to do it differently than your traditional documentary that's sort of a journalistic piece, talking head, followed by, news clip footage. Is very stylized. And, that took a lot of planning and a lot of courage on Ricky's part to, return to the prison where he was sent in 1976. That's the actual prison where he was. And it's also the filming location for the Shawshank Redemption. I don't know if you picked that up or not, but, Ricky.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, Ricky, I mean, he's giving an improvised performance opposite professional actors, including at one section of the movie, the man whose false testimony put him 82 days away from execution. So there's nothing easy about any of that. And, that's a big testament to Ricky and the rest of the crew, working so hard to get the product that we ended up with.
Well, like I said, half jokingly, like I said, it's because it's such a fascinating story. It's easier to pick, but I don't think, and this is more of a question for you, Ricky, going back, seeing the stuff, you were fingered, you were 82 days away, going and just talking about your story on death row, and you're just counting down the days, and then you get this letter that essentially saved your life. It just did.
Exactly.
and which is a first in our history as at the time. And then on top of that, I guess what I'm saying is going back and reliving these moments, how did that take a toll on you? How did that feel?
Actually, it was more of it was more therapy, because since I'd been out, I did suppress a lot of those memories and emotions and experiences of being incarcerated for 39 years. I have a wonderful opportunity in front of me, a new life. And so that's what I tried to focus on. But those things were still in my mind, those feelings, those emotions that I was trying to suppress. So going back into the prison, and initially I felt the same way, like this is going to be terrifying, but it was a great release, and Matt was, he was great in how he, was always attentive to my feelings. Like, if you want to do this scene or not, how do you feel about this? He always asked me how I felt, but as the days progressed in the shooting, I felt more relaxed, and it was kind of, it was just a big relief to be able to revisit those emotions, and to finally realize that they didn't have as much impact on me as they used to, and it was okay to feel those things and to go back to those memories and experiences.
Well, I guess I want to piggyback this with this one, Matt, when there's a part where Ricky was going through his prison mentality where he had to alter his reality in prison, being to a point where it's just single-minded, know what you got to do, don't necessarily befriend the people, don't it's just you, it's just you. So knowing that, and he's at the time, and I don't think that was acting. I think for a second while you were filming, you went back into that state. How was it trying to help him convey that to an audience? Mainly because when you're, from his depiction, when you're locked down in that mental state, it's just him. It's just whatever's in between his ears is just him. So how was it trying to convey that to the viewer, like myself? Because you did a good job.
Well, that's nice of you to say. I appreciate that. Honestly, it was it was just a preparation between Ricky and myself. We talked for hours and hours and hours. I did my first set of audio interviews with Ricky, back in 2017. And he and I sat together for about 3 days straight, probably between 12 to 15 hours worth of interview. So, Ricky's, obviously his integrity is unquestioned, right? His authenticity is irrefutable. So, and I trusted that 100% because I know him so well and I know his story so well. And so when we're filming it, he and I sort of in between takes are having the same kind of conversation that we've had many times before about, where are we in the point of his journey, right? And so we had very useful signposts to guide us. And basically I could talk to him and Ricky. That was almost like a trigger for Ricky then to get into this part of his story. And he's a natural speaker, and his story is the same every time because it's 100% true. So it's not as though we have to have him learn lines. It's not as though we have to have him give it a performance.
I'm doing an interview, babe.
It's not there is no directing really on my part, other than the visual accompaniment to his words.
And one of the things I love that I don't know if you necessarily you use Ricky's story, which is awesome in itself, but you hit on a lot of topics that affects us to this day, like such as the innocent prisoner dilemma. There are a lot of people, unfortunately, not as lucky as Ricky, who are incarcerated and for something very similar. Somebody said something or they arrested on hearsay. So we're just going to proceed with this and we're done. We got another conviction, the state won, we're out of here. And you touched on that a little bit because there's a point in the movie where Ricky was up for parole 3 times that you showed. Was it 3 or was it more than that? One in 95, one in 2010, and one in 2013.
Correct.
Okay. And each time you told the truth. You told your truth, which is more important. You didn't break, you didn't take a plea deal, even though they wanted a confession out of you. And I mean, at that point, you've done time, you've done so much. Having that mental fortitude and telling them, look, this is what happened. Story on the outside didn't change. My story have not changed.
A radio interview.
You do that. So I guess this is a question for both of you. So when you have the innocent prisoner dilemma, how important was that to highlight it almost as a sidebar in your, position, Matt? Or how important to you to keep your mental fortitude, Ricky, about both of those things? Because that concept met both of you.
I think it was very important. And I like the way Matt was able to format it in a way that the audience got it automatically, just really got it, and I just think he did a great job of walking us through that and letting me feel what it was like to go through those 3 parole board hearings, and it's a tool that's used to pressure guys, cop out to this crime, say you did it and we'll let you go home. And it's a great temptation. I know a lot of people that have done it, just to get out of prison, admitted to something they didn't do just to get out of prison, and I totally get it. I totally get it. But for myself personally, they took everything from me, and my innocence was all I had, and if I had to die in prison in electric chair, those were going to be my last words. I'm innocent, and I knew that's all I had, but it's so tempting, after being in prison, the prime best years of my life, and then having an opportunity to get out. But like I said, it was just something inside me that wouldn't let me, give up like that.
I understand. Matt,
Yeah. So, when Ricky was describing that experience with the parole board, he didn't call it the innocent prisoner dilemma. That was something that is a term that's used over in the UK and used in sort of the academic side of criminal justice reform. So, as you may have noticed in the piece, we don't hit on a lot of specific issues, or we don't explicitly tell you, hey, what to think, or hey, this is wrong, this is right, or through Ricky's story, we want you to leave that experience of watching it and go learn a little bit more about it. Obviously, he's an innocent man. We can all agree he shouldn't have been in prison for 39 years. That's obvious. But the other system that need reforming, we didn't. Other documentaries have touched on that in many ways for a long time. So, but that was something that I felt was important to call it the innocent prisoner's dilemma. That's an easy issue in the criminal justice system that should be reformed. So I felt it was important to use the proper terminology at that point in the movie.
I kind of want to shift gears a little bit because, like I said, it just jumps through so many hoops. Just his story does that. And one of the thing I love how you put that in there. I don't know if that was your idea, Ricky's idea, or both. Him visiting his younger self. It's like, hey, we're 40 years past when he was in prison here, when he first got there. But having current day Ricky visit his younger self in prison, kind of helping him out, letting him know what's going on. Essentially, that aspect of the movie, how would you feel that was important from both of you? Ricky, your point of view, you lived it, and Matt, you're projecting that to the audience.
Once again, that was totally Matt's idea. And once it was explained to me, you know, the ramifications of what it was going to do to the entire story, I was on board with it. And it signifies, you know, like I said, my best year spent in prison, you know, and here I am, my middle-aged self now, about to be a free man. And I was telling myself, younger self, essentially that, you know, whatever happened in here has to stay in here. You know, my youth, my dreams, my hopes, my aspirations at that time, you know, I can't take them with me. You know, they're part of the past. You know, my youth is part of the past. You know, my adulthood is part of the past. You know, and I have to move forward from there. You know, I'm not that same person anymore. I was in prison. I'm somebody totally different now. You know, and like I said, Matt really brought out, you know, that point. And like I said, once again, it was so easy to get for the audience to just like pick up on it so easy, you know, and see the parallel, you know.
Right.
Yeah, and like you can understand just talking to Ricky just now or hearing him what he's saying there. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say it came from me, but it all stemmed from conversations with Ricky, right? Where he says something like, part of me always needs to stay in prison, right? When Ricky got out, you know, he carved his prison ID number, you know, RIP A144. Ricky, I can't remember the last three, I'm sorry, but you know, A144 dash, what is it, Ricky?
061.
061. He carved RIP A144061 into the prison wall because that part of him is dead, you know, dead and buried in the prison. So it's not that far of a jump to say, okay, well, if the younger version of himself or this past who I never got to meet, right? I've only gotten the pleasure of knowing Ricky as a grown man, you know, as a middle-aged man. I never got to know the young man Ricky. I never got to be his friend during that period. I never got to visit him in prison. You know, I didn't know him. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know he existed. And so I try to approach it from that honest point of view. And so I thought it would be interesting, you know, for Ricky to revisit his past through the performance of Mario Beverly. And I think that worked pretty well. But honestly, it just came from those natural creative conversations with Ricky himself.
And I'm glad you brought up Mario because he was depicting young you, and he showed such a light. So I assume you had that conversation with him of what he's going through, or what you were going through, I should say, in order for him to depict that. And one of my favorite, it feels weird calling him a character because this is a real person, but Kieran Smith, who testimony kicked the door wide open, where it was just like, look, I was there. I saw everything. And just as long as you've been held down, Ricky, Karen was too, because nobody went, for whatever reason. And you could get into that if you watch the documentary, and that's why I'm wording my words very carefully, not to spoil it for the audience who hasn't seen it yet. For those same amount of times, she was held prisoner because she also knew the truth. So
and
when
she said as much.
She
said as much, you know.
So seeing her, and at the time, did you know she was there, or did you know Kieran Smith even existed?
Yes, I mean, we both lived in the same neighborhood the time this crime happened, and I knew her. I mean, our age differences. We didn't hang out or anything, but I knew her as she lived in the neighborhood. And she's always been a credible person. I always thought about her, and when I got out, I looked everywhere for her. I wanted to meet her so bad, you know. And the week of my trial, before I was released from prison, she was there. She testified, and after the trial was over with, she was gone. Yeah, I mean, she was like out of there, man. And like,
Wow.
when I finally did get an opportunity to talk to her, she echoed pretty much the same sentiments you just said about feeling guilty. And it really hurt me to know that, you know, she had gone through that. But I got it because, you know, she knew for a fact that a terrible tragedy had happened, and 3 innocents' lives were merely destroyed. Not to mention the victim's family, you know, and all those other people who suffered. And she carried that burden around for that long. But I swear to God, I was so happy to see her and talk to her and know that she had been vindicated, you know. And I apologize to her profusely for having, you know, to suffer, you know, all those years with me. But I told her how much I deeply appreciated it, because she believed, she knew the truth, and she just didn't let it go. You know, she would not let it go, you know.
And
And during that interview in the movie, we only show a little bit of it at the very end, where she says, you know, on May 15th, I was exactly where I needed to be. But that was the first time they'd ever met each other, Karen and Ricky.
oh,
And that was about a 6-hour interview. You know, she's probably only on screen for, you know, 90 seconds, but
yeah.
that was a tremendous opportunity for closure for her. And you're 100% right, Sam. She needed it more than Ricky, and that's really the power of Ricky, because he understands exactly what you said, that everybody carried a burden for that time. And yes,
Right.
not everyone was behind bars, but there's many types of prisons. And
Exactly.
Karen was in her own, and Ricky, I mean, would you agree? I mean, you felt that she was still quite affected by it.
Oh, definitely. She was. She was just sitting there and talking to her, you know, and you could feel the emotion pouring out of her, you know, the relief, you know, and the gratitude that she was finally able to do, you know, what she couldn't do 39 years ago, you know.
I understand. And one thing, and then like I said, that part, she was the key that got you out of that testimony, along with many others. And I'm skipping a lot of the stuff on the documentary because I need people to see this, because I'm trying not to ruin it too much.
It's also not out yet, Sam.
Yeah.
I think you said it was
Sam ready for people to go see it now.
You know what? That's my fault. I said it was VOD. That's my fault.
That's okay, man. I love the enthusiasm.
I got so wrapped up into this. I got the screener. You know what? If we're gonna tell the truth, let's tell the truth, guys. I'm looking at the barrel of the camera right now. I got the screener. I'm lucky I was first. You got to check it out. I need you, where it's a festival, wherever you can see it once it's released, please check it out. But I was lucky when I got it. I watched it multiple times, and when you see something like this, you see it multiple times, and you have the same feeling as you saw it the first time around. That just shows the impact that both of you, your story, your direction, Matt, it just shows how gripping this thing was. And one of the things that I also wanted to kind of highlight is, I think, and you did a good job of showing this, but I just want to go a little bit deeper, if you don't mind. I think the strongest thing you did throughout this entire documentary, and don't get me wrong, it's a lot, but I should say, the strongest things you did is, as soon as you was released, you released that in you. You forgave all the people, the paper boy. He's no longer a paper boy no more, and we'll get into that in the documentary later. I don't want to ruin that. You forgave, you talked like your own family, where it was you said it that even in those 39 years, no one visited you. And you had to hear about your family by hearsay, letters, maybe a phone call. And even in the phone call, you had to keep your face on about, you know, because you didn't want to let that break happen. So you treated it, and I'm quoting you at this point. You said you treated it as if they canceled Jim. Did I get that quote right?
Exactly. That's exactly, yeah.
And when you get devastating news, and my condolences go to you. I know what it is. I lost my mom a few years back. So when you hear something like that, you want to be in the room. You want to let it out. You want to do everything that you can. But you have to have that mental toughness to keep it like, oh man. All right, then. In order to do that, and you have that well-being and forgiveness to all of those people who put you in there, people who didn't visit you in there. Did you think about it, or was that an easy decision, Ricky? Was that it just like, you know what, might as well? You tell me, because maybe it's some with me, but yeah, we're gonna have a few conversations.
You talking about the forgiveness part?
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say it was an easy decision to come to, but I have been in pain. I've been suffering for so long, with the loneliness and the uncertainty of, the future of my life, and mad at a lot of people for not showing up, confused why a lot of people didn't show up for me, and where were they? Where was my family? I remember when they're visiting days, they would call guys' names out, and I was like, they could have called my name. I wouldn't even heard it because I was so used to not hearing it. The day my mother passed away, when I got the news and I digested the news, I felt a crack, in the dam. But I knew that if I started crying, I probably would have never stopped, because it was so much tension and pressure built up behind that dam. I couldn't afford to crack right now, not even for my mother, and it's still taken me a lot of time and a lot of years to really grieve my mother properly, and I still haven't gotten to the point where I could release it or release her, but I'm getting there, I'm really getting there. But in prison, like you said earlier, you have to have a space between your head that nobody can get to, and that's the only true way to survive any kind of captivity or confinement or whatever. You have to have a place in your head that nobody can get to, and but when I got out, I knew that I couldn't continue to live my life in that vein, that sadness, that sorrow, that regret, that longing. I had a great opportunity, one that a lot of guys in my position don't get, a lot of them, and I made a decision that whatever time God gave me left on this earth, I wasn't going to live it like that. I couldn't do it like that anymore. Being resentful, angry, unforgiving of people, I had to let it go. I really had to let it go for my personal mental health and my personal safety and my spirit, And so I met my accuser, my false accuser. We talked, and I come to find out that, I wasn't the only one carrying this burden around with me, I mean, he had a broken life because of what he did, and so he was in his own mental prison in hell. We met at his pastor's church and we talked for a while, and I told him, I was like, man, I've carried you around for 39 years. It's time for me to let you go. I hope you have a great life. I forgive you for whatever you did, because at 13 years old, a child back in the 70s, the authorities used him like they used us. They manipulated him. They manipulated his family. They manipulated us. And he was a kid. How much control did he really have?
Yeah. You're right.
And like I said, we talked and we got up. I got up to leave and we embraced. And the greatest feeling from that whole experience was like feeling all that excess baggage and pressure just, I mean, I don't know if it was all in my head, but I honestly felt like his body just got lighter in my arms as we embraced. And, you know, to me, that was the signal. Like, I can move on now. I can enjoy what I got now, you know, and be honestly happy and content. If I hadn't have done that, I couldn't enjoy what I'm doing now. There's no way, you know, because I'd have been so bitter and resentful of people, you know, nobody who won't be bothered with me, who want to hear that story,
Right.
you know? And so I knew that, like I said, you know, I wanted to be grateful for this opportunity and take every advantage of it, you know, and so far so good, you know?
Well, I will say this. There are other things I want to talk about, but running the risk of spoiling this movie even more, if my eagle-eyed people who are watching this video right now saw a brief cameo of somebody in the back, and I'm delighted that she, along with a special guest, was also there to greet you, help you get your life on track a little bit more after your release. Matt, did I say that right? Because I don't want to ruin anything else. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you said it right, 100%.
All right, cool. Because that's a very good part of the movie, and I just loved every bit of it. And when you see the movie and you see this interview, you can kind of put two and two together. I'm running out of time, but I thank you guys for just sharing your story. I do have one question that's purely selfish. I will say this: I love the movie. Check it out on the festival circuit or whenever you can get it. But Ricky, this is purely selfish. This is not ruining the movie, but man, we may have to talk offline about this. Towards the end, Matt, are you from the Midwest? Where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from Cleveland. Ricky and I both live in Cleveland.
Okay, so you know, I'm sure you asked this question too. I'm Detroit, and I got two Cleveland natives right here. Towards the end of this documentary, my man Ricky, you had the baddest fur jacket. And yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
You know what? It's funny you say that because after the screening, a lot of people came up with that same question.
Yeah,
Like, man,
I knew I wasn't the only
you
one.
with that jacket, dude.
Yes, you did. There's been many mornings I had to get up, I had to do my thing, and it is negative 10 or something. When it get cold, you was like, don't even worry about it. And you had you walking in the snow. I'm like, killing it. Follow-up question: do you still have the jacket?
Do I still have it?
Do you still have it? Yes.
Oh yeah, that was a Father's Day gift. Yep, I definitely got it. No, a birthday gift. I'm sorry. No, that was a Father's Day gift. Yes, from my wife. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's it.
People cheered in the theater when the jacket first showed up.
Man, I'm telling you. I heard people tell me, "Look at that jacket."
Yeah,
I cheered.
Dang.
That's funny.
I was on my couch and was like, "Yes, there we go, right there." Yeah, that is a different person. That is a different person from the start of this movie. And well, guys, like I said, I thank you so much for just being on the podcast, sharing your story, let alone sharing your story with the world, wherever they go, festivals. I just hope every eyeball who get a chance to see it can. I'm just one person, and I love it. And I have off mic, I've told my wife watched it with me the second time I watched it, and my brother came over for a hot second. He kind of like dipped his head in, like, "Hey, what you doing?" I was like, "No." And he watched it a little bit. Like, "Where can I see this?" I'm like, "You can either stay here, or you're gonna have to check it out at the festivals like everybody else. You better hope, you can get a ticket, because if there's a bunch of people like me who saw this, I'm sure there's lines around the block to see this, and rightfully so. Your story.
I think that Matt did such a great job in like just capturing it. I mean, everybody got something they going through, you know, something they trying to overcome or move past, you know, and I think we just kind of touched a little bit of that in everybody with this film, you know, and like I said, Matt did a great job in doing that. And, you know, even if, you know, some parts you might not like, but unquestionably, it touched you something in your life, you know, because like I said, everybody's trying to overcome something, you know, and get through something, man, you know, and it was just a little way to help release it, man, and, you know, get in touch with it and know that you don't have to be afraid of it, you know, and you can conquer whatever it is, you know, because there's nothing in me that it isn't inside of everybody else, man, you know, for real, seriously, you know.
One of the best things I can say about Ricky, your story, Matt, your direction, the best way I could describe this documentary is medicine. Yeah, some of this stuff ain't gonna taste so good, but you need it. It's medicine, man. I that's how I look at it, because seeing some of those parts in the documentary, yeah, you get a little uncomfortable. But if you just stick in there, you stay with it, it's medicine. And I hope it made me a better person. I know it made you a better person, Ricky. And
if nothing else, just made you think about some stuff, you know?
Oh yeah, it did.
Yeah.
So
and
again,
Sam, if you could rate the movie on IMDb, that would be great. Rate it.
Oh, you ain't said nothing but a word. That's what I'm doing right after this. Oh, okay. Oh,
thank you.
I didn't think you needed my help, but yeah, I got you.
Need all the help we can get.
Hey, well, thank you guys, gentlemen, so much for just being a part of the podcast, just to talk about the documentary. It's called Lovely Jackson. It's on the festival circuit right now. I hope it has life in other platforms, you know, all your digital platforms, or I really do, because this is a story that needs to be heard. Yeah, we heard the news clips over time. I talk about being in Detroit and you're in Cleveland, and you hear the news clips. No, you need to hear the whole thing.
I hear you. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate
you
everything you're doing for us. We appreciate it, man. You know, appreciate it.
And thank you guys.
You're a great interviewer too.
Oh man, now you make it.
No, you are. You're a great interviewer. You kept us engaged and entertained at the same time. That's a good interview. You know?
Man, see,
that's a good interview.
I mean, you be touching people. Yeah, I don't hit the button. I don't cry in the shower like a man. So thank you guys so much, and have a great day, man. Have a great
All right,
day.
take care, man.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, Sam. Okay, so for the next one, what we're doing is we're hold on, I'm